So my name is Thorne Davis, and today we're going to be looking at the Polish Zloty, as well as the PLNU stable token issued by units, which we'll cover a little bit closer to the end. But essentially what we're looking at today is a sort of a broader perspective on the Polish Zloty's history, where it is now, and potentially where things are actually going to go as the economy begins to digitize, and also as we start to see wider adoption with digital currencies and understanding of digital currencies as well. So let's get into it. So Poland fact sheet, capital city of Poland here is Warsaw. Official languages, Polish, English. I think I might actually be maybe overstepping there by saying English. I'm not sure if it's an official language, but I do believe, at least from a lot of the Polish people that I've met, English is definitely spoken amongst the younger population there. Ethnic groups, so nearly the entire country is basically Polish. You know, you don't have like a lot of expatriates coming in, and so for the most part, it is, yeah, there's a lot of strength within the culture as well, and I think a lot of preservation of cultural aspects, language, and everything like this too. And then we have a majority who are Catholic at 86%. And then Eastern Orthodoxy 1%, Protestant 1%, other 2%, and then no religion sitting at 6% there. Sorry, I think I said Catholic 80%, that is Catholicism 86%. So a brief, very brief history of the Polish Zloty. So in 1496, Poland created a national currency equivalent to 30, please excuse my pronunciation here, but groschen of Prague, which is Polish, which in Polish is called the grosz or Polski Zloty, which basically means golden Polish. So during the second half of the, wow, what is that, 18th? What's the 18th? Under the reign of Stanislaw August Poniatowski, the Zloty was established as the official currency of the country. So replaced by the Russian ruble in 1850 to 1917, and by the Polish mark from 1917 to 1924, the Zloty was introduced again in 1924 after the hyperinflation and monetary chaos happened in the years following the First World War. Now, after 7 devaluations in 1950, a new Zloty was entered in the country, the PLZ, equaling 100 old zlotys, and in 1995, also due to hyperinflation, the decimal point moved 4 places. This way, 10,000 old zlotys were exchanged for 1 new zloty, PLN. And this process of removing the zeros has actually been done by a few economies as well. Turkey has followed doing the same thing, as did Japan at one point in their history as well. I'm not necessarily sure if it actually solves many problems. I think there's a few nuances to how this is actually going to ripple out and affect like currency exchanges with other countries, but nevertheless, they went ahead and did it. So here we can see what the Polish Zloty looks like. We've got 1, 2, 5, 10, 20, 50, and then 1, 2, 5 coins. So these are the cents here, and then we've basically got the 1, 2, 5, and we kick up from the 5 to the 10, 20, 50, 100, and 200 Zloty notes. So with an estimated 2007 GDP of 150 billion, or sorry, 510 billion, Poland is the EU's 6th largest economy. And Poland represents the greatest success story of all the post-communist states. The economy was the only one in the EU to avoid recession through a 2007 to 2008 economic downturn. And Poland's economy has performed consistently from the period of 2014 to 2017, with real GDP growth exceeding 4% due to increases in government social spending that have helped spur consumer spending. So this 4% is actually pretty solid. We were just looking at the South African rand previously, and they at the moment are getting about 0.7% per annum increase in their GDP. So Poland is an important and dynamic market located in the heart of Central Europe. American exporters and investors are drawn to Poland due to the country's large population, well-educated and competitive workforce, and strong prospects for the economic growth and location affording broader access to the European Union market of 500 million. Consumer spending in Poland averaged 190,000 million Polish zloty from 1996 until 2021, reaching an all-time high of 343,000 million, which is basically 343 billion zloty in the first quarter of 2021. So with 38 million people, Poland is the largest single market among the new European Union states. In 2020, Poland recorded approximately 1.98 million small to medium-sized enterprises, of which micro companies constituted the most significant number. So there's definitely a strong entrepreneurial spirit taking place. And with respect to the population as well, this is a pretty decent percentage of people who are actually getting involved with business creation. So for decades, Poland's economy has been dominated by three leading industries, that being agriculture, manufacturing, and mining. Even though agriculture and manufacturing still play a significant role in the country's future, they are now slowly losing their positions to the newly emerging industries that are automotive, business services, defense, aerospace, and ICT. And as an addition to this, I will also say Poland is home to some of the most remarkable computer scientists and coders and developers as well, a few of which I have actually met, and even to a certain extent, digital artists as well. Something that I follow as well as a little hobby, and yeah, really awesome what they're actually doing there. So the Warsaw Stock Exchange, the WSE, is the largest stock exchange in Central and Eastern Europe, and one of the most recognized financial institutions in Poland. The Warsaw Stock Exchange, WSE, was founded in 1991 following the overthrow of Poland's communist regime 3 years earlier. And as of April 2021, there were 432 companies listed on the exchange's main and parallel markets, with a combined cap of 232 billion euro. In 2019, Poland recorded, or exported rather, a total of 256 billion, making it the number 22 exporter in the world. And during the last 5 years, the exports in Poland have changed by 41.5 billion, from 214 billion in 2014 to 256 billion in 2019. So a very solid increase in the space of a few years as well, 5 years there. The most recent exports are led by vehicle parts. There's 14 billion, cars, seats, other furniture, computers, and the most common destination for the exports of Poland are Germany, Czechia, United Kingdom, France, and Italy. So the number of millionaires in Poland is growing systematically. Nearly 35,000 people have declared an income of 1 million or more in their tax returns for 2019, which is an increase of 158% compared to 2008. So I think as a side note to this, I would maybe potentially mention that due to the fact that the economy has been inflating as well, there could potentially be a strong case to be made for the fact that the 1 million they have now may even be worth similar to what the equal amount of money actually was worth back in the day. Because just noting as well that this 1 million or more is in zlotys, it's not actually US dollars. But nevertheless, it's underway, it's happening, and I think they're doing good things. According to the statistics, Poland in 2018, the Polish economic growth rate was 3.7%, which is one of the best results in Europe. On the 29th of September 2017, the index provider, the FTSE Russell, changed Poland's market status from an emerging market to a developed market. According to Eurostat, Poland in 2020 had a higher minimum wage than its counterpart in the United States when measured by purchasing power standards. So that's really, really cool. So it seems like we're actually at least starting to pull a lot of the lower classes up to a more middle class working threshold or payment threshold. Again, I'm not sure how one would actually look at this in terms of the macroeconomics of what's actually going on in the economy with regard to inflation, but nevertheless, I think as this is measured by purchasing power standards, it does actually represent like a decent increase. And just checking out this graph here as well, we can see that Poland was on a very, very good trajectory here. We had a very big dip as soon as the pandemic basically kicked in, but it seems like a strong recovery is being made in tandem with the Euro surrounding area. So the government debt of Poland reached 355 billion Polish Zloty in 2020, which accounts for approximately 53% of the GDP. So this is a concerning statistic, and it does actually mirror what is happening in almost every country at this point in time. I think countries that were especially hit by the economic problems created by the pandemic are really starting to experience this in full force. I know that even in the US, more than, or maybe perhaps not more, but about half of the total money supply of the US dollars was created in the last 12 months, which is quite insane. So it's a very, very interesting time. I'm not at all sure where we're going to end up, but for the most part, I'm going to be sitting back and I'm going to be watching with a lot of interest. So yeah. Digital activities of Poland's economy. Now, over the last quarter century, the Polish economy has doubled in size in terms of the GDP per capita. The past success of the Polish economy has to a large extent been dependent on its well-educated yet inexpensive workforce. But the rules of the game are changing as digitization of the world economy accelerates and the importance of competitively priced labor declines. Fair enough. A McKinsey analysis shows that in the next decade, Poland could increase the economic value added of its entire economy by 13 to 22% by means of digitization. So when we're speaking to digitization, we're also talking about a certain amount of autonomous systems being introduced, which is actually removing the overhead costs of human labor. This is, in some senses, a good thing, but also it's going to mean that there will need to be a very large, a very rapid sort of skill upgrade amongst some of the working class so that they can actually contribute towards the development of some of these changes as well and not just be left behind. So the Polish financial regulator has said that the trading of cryptocurrencies is de facto legal in the country. So the Polish system, there are no regulations prohibiting the conduct of an activity as an exchange or an exchange office for cryptocurrencies, which means that conducting activities in the form of an exchange in cryptocurrencies as well as trading in cryptocurrencies is not prohibited. The Polish government plans significant changes in cryptocurrency trading taxation for 2019, however, and the draft amendment to the Personal Income Tax, the PIT Act, and to the Corporate Income Tax, the CIT Act, provides that income from cryptocurrency trades will be subject to 19% tax rate. This is pretty high. This is not the highest in the world. At this point in time, depending on what your capital gain actually is, Australia can even get up to 40%. I know that there are other countries that are even a little bit higher. But yes, I can totally understand a certain amount of taxation taking place, but it will be very interesting to see how governments actually begin to deal with this, especially when we have other jurisdictions like El Salvador, which are basically offering tax-free havens to Bitcoin holders as well. So Poland is reportedly the first city in the world to leverage Ethereum's blockchain to aid in the provision of emergency services, offering yet another tangible use case for distributed ledger technology. So Olslim, please excuse my pronunciation there, has completed a successful trial run of their new application, which is called Smart Key. And this is a bridging technology that connects blockchain with physical assets to aid in police, fire, and ambulance services. So this is really cool because this is actually providing a tangible use case, and it isn't necessarily just focusing on the decentralized finance aspect of cryptocurrency, which I guess a lot of these discussions actually really do focus around. And I mean, with good reason as well. These are certain aspects of traditional finance that I think need the biggest upgrade. And especially now at this point in human history and with what's actually happening with regard to monetary management, we can see that things definitely are a little bit out of control, and hallelujah, we actually have solutions to pivot to, which I think is really cool. We didn't actually have them previously, so I can understand why we just kept on doing the same thing again. So in conclusion, Poland is a rapidly developing country, very well positioned to service Eastern Europe through export of products and services. Poland's economic performance has seen steady growth over the last 2 decades and looks to be embracing technological innovation to increase production. And Poland's adoption of blockchain technology is on the cutting edge as they move to incorporate the use of Ethereum for social and emergency services, as previously mentioned. And Poland's adoption and attitude towards cryptocurrencies is exponentially increasing, and investors are also welcoming diversification of digital assets. So there's definitely an openness to a multi-token ecosystem. So the PLU stable token by units has a total supply of 100 million. The ticker is PLNU, and this token will be existing on the unit network platform. The PLU token is a decentralized stable token issued by unit, as mentioned. However, the really important thing to understand here about this token is that instead of being backed by fiat, it's actually being backed by digital assets. So things like Bitcoin, things like Ethereum, things like Polkadot. And essentially what this is doing is it's creating a mechanism by which there can be over-collateralization of the stable tokens that we actually issued to make sure that there is some very good stability, at least more so than can be gained with backing it with fiat, which ultimately can just be printed ad nauseum. So by actually backing it with deflationary assets, we can really aid the stability there. So how is the PLNU token different? So as an example, let's say I buy 50,000 PLNU tokens using BTC, and BTC has a price of 50,000 PLN. Forget the U there. So therefore, in this scenario, the PLNU token is 1-for-1 backed. You've got $50,000 50,000 zloty worth of Bitcoin, and then you've actually got 50,000 of these PLNU tokens. Now, if the price of Bitcoin actually increases, the token holders of the PLNU token holders don't actually capitalize on any of the upside. The PLNU token simply becomes over-collateralized. So this is definitely something that we expect to be happening as these digital assets like Bitcoin actually start to go up in value. The collateralization and therefore stability of these tokens can be very much supported. But essentially, all of this is going to be looked at in a little bit more detail later down the line, so we can actually get into the more finer working of how these tokens are actually going to work. And it does sort of go beyond the scope of this presentation. So for now, I will leave you with that. And if anyone has any questions, please feel free to fire them away.